Welcome back to Obsessed for the last episode. What a bittersweet moment. I have to say thank you to everybody for how supportive you were of that decision. I obviously was like terrified to say it, but I love you, and I should know that you guys always have my back. And except for this one person who I can't stop fixating on their specific comment, but that's neither here nor there. Most of you have been super supportive, and I just love you. And let's get ready to give this episode everything we've got.
Well, Brooke, you don't always have to be a star.
I know, but you do if you are going to be in the biggest boy band in the world. I gotten so worked up that I had thrown up on myself in my stroller. In my 14-year-old self, I said, those are hot men. And look at them now. They're like babies. That was kind of just like a casual interest, which I guess maybe a little bit more than casual. We need to talk about Phantasma today, which was our Brookeshelf book this month, which, by the way, Brookeshelf will be continuing, which I'm really excited about. I had this random Finsta from a while ago that was just like dedicated to my crushes that I obviously didn't post on in like a year and a half. So I changed that to the Brookeshelf account. It is Brookeshelf LLC is the name of the account. I've not posted anything yet. Maybe I'll post today. That could be fun. And in the bio of that is our fable. So I think basically what I'm going to do is just use this account as just like a bookstagram. I'll post all about what I'm reading. I'll announce the Brookeshelf book at the first of every month, and that is the book that we'll use to discuss on Fable. And I think that's where we'll have the bulk of our discussions, and then I'll share some of your reviews and ratings on the Instagram account, and we can discuss the book in the comments of that post. So also open to any other ideas. I'll post like a review of my own for the Brookeshelf book as well. So follow that account if you want to keep up with the books. I'm really excited. Some of you know I actually did have a Bookstagram account, Brookstagram, back in 2018, which I devoted my life to. So I'm excited to kind of keep that up on the Brookeshelf LLC account. Jonathan has been completely out of control eating my money tree, which is the only plant I have because it's non-toxic to cats. And he has shown literally no interest in it until today as we started the recording. So he was eating it during the entirety of ads. I gave him treats. He didn't even want them. He just wants the money tree. So perfect. I added a new song to the Obsessed playlist this morning, which I will also continue to be doing. So Obsessed is continuing on in multiple ways through the playlist and through our book club. But the song was, I think it's called Nothing at All. Let me just double check. Or nothing at all. All or nothing. There was a clip of the Basement Yard Boys singing that, which like obviously was meant to be funny, but I saw that and I said, that's a spectacular piece. It's just like giving early 2000s boy band, which I guess is exactly what it is. Although I've never heard of the band. It's O-Town. They're fabulous. But yeah, I can't stop listening to that song. It's got that classic yearning piece, which I love. So go ahead and check out that song. Okay, on the docket today, we are going to dive into Phantasma. I have a lot of thoughts on this book, so we're going to give that a more in-depth dive than we have other Brookeshelf books. And then if we have time after that, I want to develop Jonathan. What do we do, Izzy? Maybe we should just move the plant. Thank you, honey. I obviously can't stand up. I really appreciate it. I think you can put it, if you put it in that pot, maybe. Does that work? Just layer it. Pretty. Thank you, my love. Johnson's, come here. He's massive now. Like he's a cat. He's no longer a kitten. He's a cat. But yeah, and then I need to develop a detailed rating system because my ratings for books are all over the place. I used to just like give everything 5 stars, and now I haven't given something 5 stars really since my last Sarah J. Maas read. And now everything's just been 3 stars, but there are some 3 stars where I'm like, this was horrible, and some 3 stars where I'm like, this was okay. So I really want to kind of hone in on that rating system. Okay, I mean, let's get into Phantasma. I'll be honest, not really excited to relive this one. This was a tricky one to rate because I read it all in one day, like sped through it because it had so much potential, but I just like kept getting disappointed. But I think it does say something if you read a book in one day, you know, you obviously couldn't hate it that much. So I did end up giving it 3 stars, but I think there was so much missing and so much unlocked potential that was not locked. Let's get into it, you guys. Okay. So our main character of Phantasma is named Ophelia. And I was really excited to read about her because apparently what I had heard was that this was really great OCD representation, which I guess in a way it was, but to me that was just like completely overshadowed by the plot of the book. I like don't even remember her OCD, but that's great that the author gave that some representation. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay. So Ophelia is our main character. She has a sister named Genevieve, and they live in this like spooky manor. And one night their mother just completely randomly drops dead. And so the book kind of opens on Ophelia doing a spell over her mother's dead body because we learn that her mother had magic powers and the sisters did not yet as of this moment. But Ophelia does this spell to transfer her mother's magic to herself, so she can take over the family business of necromancing, which I had thought was the same thing as necrophilia. It's not. This is just communicating with dead people, not having sex with them. So she kind of takes on her mother's magic, and she kind of plans to continue in her mother's footsteps of kind of running the necromancy industry and helping people connect with the dead. And in order to do that, in addition to taking her mom's magic, she also takes this heart locket that her mother wears every day, which she's like, I don't know why everybody wears this locket. They just do. So she takes that locket, and now she's magic. As far as we know, the sister doesn't have any magic, but Ophelia does. One day, these debt collectors knock on the door of their house and tell them that their mother was in debt and that they'll be taking the house if they can't pay that debt back. Ophelia had no idea of this, but based off of Genevieve's reaction, Ophelia is thinking, seems like Genevieve maybe knew something about this. And then she sees the checks that were made out. Her mother had made out a few checks to the bank before she died, and she notices that some of them are Genevieve's signature. So she's like, okay, Genevieve was in on whatever this was, and we are not privy to whatever that was. So Ophelia is walking home from the bank, and she stumbles upon this like massive mansion that just appeared out of nowhere. And that is where we meet Phantasma, which is this competition that takes place in a haunted mansion that kind of pops up randomly in different places. And it's in New Orleans where they are. So she stumbles upon it, and she hears this kind of like sexy, sultry voice talking to her. And the voice is telling her that he's basically stuck in Phantasma and has been for as long as he can remember. And she's like, oh my God, let me help you. And he's like, you can't help me, but I need a heart and a key to set myself free. And she's just like, okay, I don't have that right now. And he's like, okay, well, I hope I don't ever see you again. And she's like, damn, he was hot. Even though she couldn't even see him. So that's that. She gets back home to discover Genevieve has completely disappeared. And Ophelia obviously just goes right to her diary to read that and sees that Genevieve had been obsessed with this Phantasma thing for a really long time. She has like clippings of it in her journal and a note that says, find Gabriel, which obviously we don't know who that is. Ophelia doesn't know who that is. And she also probably wants to enter Phantasma because you get some sort of devil's wish at the end, which I guess she could use to get the sisters out of debt. So she's now in Phantasma. And then Ophelia follows her right into that haunted mansion. As she's entering Phantasma, there's a devil, obviously, letting them in. And the devils look a little bit different. The devils are almost kind of hot. But the devil says, one rule, Phantasma, don't fall in love. And of course, Ophelia thinks, no problem. But little, obviously, we know that might pose an issue based off of what we know we're getting ourselves into in the romantasy genre. Okay? Right off the bat, she does end up meeting a handsome phantom named Blackwell. He has silver hair, which personally I was not interested in that. And also just his name being Blackwell. I didn't love it. I didn't really like it. You guys know I need more of like a tall, dark, and handsome. Doesn't even have to be tall. But Blackwell was like very, very ghostly to me as a phantom. So I wasn't like super into him, which is fine. But not really. And she's like, wait, Blackwell, I literally met you the other night. Like she recognizes his energy because, you know, she has that necromancer ability. And he's like, oh, well, I don't remember you because I have all these holes in my memory and I don't know how I got here. And I can't really remember anything that happens like outside of these trials of Phantasma that Ophelia is about to embark on, kind of like these Hunger Gamesy trials. And she ends up making a blood bargain with him, of course. That goes without saying. Even though her mother has warned her against that type of shit, she does it anyway. And she is going to help him find whatever it is that will get him out of Phantasma because he's been stuck in it, in exchange for, if she doesn't find it, she will have to transfer 10 years of her life over to Blackwell because that kind of keeps his phantom energy going. And she has actually taught him that it is going to be a heart and a key that gets him out because he had told her that the other night. And he was like, wait, I literally had no idea about the heart and the key. And she's like, you literally told me. And he's like, I do not remember. So right off the bat, we're like, something fishy is obviously going on. But Ophelia knows that she's now looking for a heart and a key. Okay? And for me, I was obviously like, babe, like you're wearing a heart around your neck. Obviously, that's going to have something to do with it. That's at least what I was thinking. I don't know if any of you caught on to that, but to me, that was like stupid that they didn't kind of think of that right off the bat. Okay. Then we kind of get started on those trials. There are some other people that obviously are like right off the bat hate Ophelia for no reason, super mean to her. She's also mean to them. Like she was kind of like not very nice. There was one girl, Lucy, who was like kind of being sweet to her, and she was like, I want nothing to do with you, which was sweet. But this was important for some reason. Oh yeah, she can only talk to these people. Her sister is somewhere in the mansion, but she can only access the people in her wing. So she can't find her sister until she beats like level 8 or something. So she is just trying to get through these levels to find her sister, and then she's planning to peace out. But the bargain with, I didn't mention this important part of the bargain with Blackwell. He's going to help her through these trials. Okay. That's what he's going to give her in exchange for her helping him find that lock and key. And also, if she finds it, by the way, she doesn't have to give him 10 years. If she doesn't find it, she does have to transfer those 10 years. Okay. Each trial is run by a devil, which I thought was really interesting. Obviously, we kind of breeze right over the devils. And we also breeze right over the trials because anything that I was kind of finding interesting, breezed right over and we did not go into detail on them. We did, however, spend a lot of time on like the color of the walls and the tablecloths and stuff like that. But the trials had so much potential to be so interesting, I thought. We literally spent like 3 pages on each of them. And it was literally just like, pull a lever to win the trial. Someone's going to try to kill you on your way to the lever. Be careful. And then she basically just like summoned Blackwell in each of these trials and he helped her. He was like, do this. And then she did. Really almost, I don't like to use the word stupid, but kind of stupid. Easy with him in there. And just like, there were no, you just like knew she was going to win because she had him. And I also like really couldn't orient myself in the trials just based off of the author's description. And yeah, I thought that was like a pretty weak part of the book that could have been really exciting. Okay. Obviously they start having tons of sex and each sex scene was the exact same. And he also kept calling her Angel, not only in the sex scenes, but also outside of them, which personally that kind of like made the hairs on my arm stand up in a bad way. I didn't like the Angel of it all. Okay. Throughout all of this, they're doing all the trials. She's winning them all. They don't really go into depth in the trials and also the devils, which obviously I wanted to hear about. They keep looking for the heart and the key, and they don't get any closer to that, despite there literally being a heart necklace around Ophelia's neck the whole time. Blackwell does end up finding out who Gabriel is, because remember in Genevieve's diary, it was Find Gabriel. That is going to go ahead and be their father, who actually was in Phantasma years ago with their mother, who was also in Phantasma, and they fell in love in Phantasma. But because of that rule, don't fall in love in Phantasma, they were cursed. And so the dad, Gabriel, kept falling more and more in love with the mom and kept becoming more and more obsessed, when the mom kept like becoming more apathetic and like icked out. And that was the curse. And so eventually they got divorced because he was so addicted to her and she like couldn't give a shit. And so we find out that the mom had actually ended up buying a new house because she wanted to get away from Gabriel, who had entered Phantasma again and was going to use his wish to find her and the girls. And they were kind of hiding from him, unbeknownst to the daughters. So that's what the mom took out a loan on, to find a new house to hide from Gabriel if he had won Phantasma and kind of gotten that wish, which would be to find them. Okay. Hey guys, we want to take a break to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Quince. Gift giving is a great way to show someone you care about them, or just give them that extra thank you for being in your life. It can also be a little gift that just puts a smile on someone's face. It's great when you can get someone a gift they wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. That little bit of luxury that they don't know that they're missing. For quality gifts at an affordable price, my go-to is Quince. Quince lets you treat your loved ones and yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price. Something everyone needs in their closet, in my opinion, Quince's iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at $50. Or for the ultimate year-round gifts, check out their 14-karat gold jewelry, Italian leather handbags, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. How do they do that? By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the savings on to you. Quince is on the nice list. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. I would love to gift the Mongolian cashmere sweater this year. It's such a great and timeless piece to have for anyone. And I would personally love to receive the suede clog mules or a cashmere oversized crew neck sweater. I think they almost might even go pretty together almost. Gift luxury this holiday season without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/OWB for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/OWB to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/OWB. Obviously, we breeze right past all of that. We learn really nothing about Gabriel and the mom. And the fact that Gabriel had literally re-entered Phantasma and met Blackwell just months ago. Breeze right past all of that. Okay. But we do learn a little bit about the curse and just Phantasma in general, and that it is run by the Prince of Devils, who has been punished by his father, the King of Devils, because the prince had fallen in love and chose the woman he was in love with over his dad, the King of Devils. And so the dad basically punished him to be stuck in Phantasma, and no one could fall in love in Phantasma because he's just like making a statement on how like love can only hurt you. Hence the curses that happen with the love. So we basically learn that we'll meet the Prince of Devils if Ophelia makes it to like level 9 or something. And that's where she can access that devil's wish. And that devil's named Salem. I think his name is Salem. Yeah, his name is Salem, Prince of Devils. So he's kind of just stuck in Phantasma. Much like Blackwell is also stuck in Phantasma. So some people are there against their will. Ophelia and Blackwell decide to stop seeing each other because it can't end well because of the curse. But obviously they're so addicted to each other that they can't stay away, and they decide that they're just gonna ride that out. You might have forgotten that the whole reason that Ophelia is there is because of her sister. I also forgot that because we become so obsessed with Blackwell that Ophelia seems to have forgotten that piece. So one night when Ophelia and Blackwell are obviously having sex, the sister walks in and it's like, oh my God, hi, forgot about you, because we had finally reached that level where you can mingle with other people. In other wings, Ophelia had forgotten about that, even though that was the whole reason that she was there. So then they all become like a buddy, like family. Genevieve loves Blackwell. They're just like very chummy, and they all go looking for the heart and the key together, but they still can't find it. Can't stress enough, there's a heart around Ophelia's neck this whole time. But then Ophelia enters like the second to last level. She sends Genevieve home. And she's like, you go head home. I'm going to stay in Phantasma because I need to keep helping Blackwell because we need to find that heart and the key so that my life isn't docked 10 years. Okay. She ends up summoning some sort of door, which I missed. There was, I think, a part where she had done that before. I completely had missed it. But she summons a door where she's actually able to talk to the Prince of Devils on site a little bit earlier than everyone else because of her door summoning. And now this is the part of the book where I had completely not been able to understand anything. So we're actually going to go through this together. Okay. So she summons that door. Blackwell is like, oh my God, like, love you. Good luck. Summon me if you need anything. I'm honestly going to just read some of this and we're going to kind of work through it together. Okay. She walks through the door. Hello, she calls. Salem Mistress. Let's just call him Salem for now, you guys, because that's easier for me. Salem, I'm here for my prize. There was no answer, only silence. Minutes went by. She was growing impatient. She wanted to do this alone for herself, but she wondered what would happen if she summoned Blackwell. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, she calls for Blackwell, waits. There's no response. Maybe he can't be summoned in this level, she thinks. Suddenly, the energy shifted around her. Power like she had never felt before starts filling the space. Somewhere beyond the small glowing circle she was standing in, footsteps approached. Hello, Angel, a deep velvet voice greeted her. Blackwell stepped into the ring of light. Oh, good, you heard me, she said with relief. Do you know what I should do next? He was unnervingly silent. She narrowed her eyes. Something was different. Blackwell, she whispered. Firstly, let me reintroduce myself. He dipped his head in a formal bow. My name is Salem Mistress Erasmus Blackwell, Prince of Devils. But you, Angel, may call me Salem. Okay, so, I understand this. And basically what has happened is that Blackwell this whole time has been Salem, the Prince of Devils, who's been stuck in Phantasma because of his father's punishment. Didn't see that coming. Shockingly, maybe I should have, because both Blackwell and the Prince of Devils were stuck and he randomly can't remember shit. But yeah, so he's the Prince of Devils. Okay. Now, chapter 51, if you would like to follow along with me, we now enter this flashback. Okay. This is basically the flashback of 500 years ago when the Prince of Devils, Salem, is being punished by his dad, the King of Devils. And this makes completely no sense to me. And also, I obviously looked it up on Reddit and everywhere on the internet that I could find. It doesn't seem to make sense to anyone else. So let's skim this piece. Basically, as Prince of Devils, Salem thought he'd long ago experienced the darkest thing hell had to offer. He'd witnessed gruesome purgatory pits countless times, blah, 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 blah. But the moment he realized she had been taken, that was an agony unlike he'd ever known. And this is 500 years ago, okay? So he has basically learned that the love of his life has been taken by his father, the King of Devils, okay? The King of Devils was sitting atop his diamond throne, a crown of ebony flames resting atop his head. He smiled down at Salem, blah, 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 blah. Where the fuck is she? Salem bared his teeth. His father laughed. Is that how you greet your father? Salem seethed. Don't play with me. If you don't let her go, I will burn all of Nocturnia to the ground. Okay. Salem narrowed his eyes as his father stood and transported down the stairs from his throne. The king stopped right in front of him, leaning in to whisper the most bone-chilling words he'd ever heard on his father's lips. I know your true name. Salem felt his blood run cold. No, it couldn't be. He'd only ever given his true name to one person. Obviously, I guess his true name is Blackwell. We literally don't hear anything else about that, okay? Don't be too upset with her, his father continued. After all, mortals are such fragile things. Haven't I always warned you about that? So I guess he was tortured into giving up his true name, which I guess is Blackwell, which we don't ever find out, the significance of that. Why are you doing this? He snarled. She's done nothing to deserve it. She made you a liability, his father hissed. She made you a weakness. Then punish me, Salem demanded. I'm the one who disobeyed. Don't punish her. Blah, blah, blah. Don't worry. That's exactly what I plan to do. Okay. Now they are bringing out this young woman. Angel, he whispered. Okay. Okay. So this young woman that Salem 500 years ago was in love with is named Angel, which she's also been calling Ophelia. That's honestly a red flag to me. If my boyfriend 500 years ago had the love of his life named Angel and then started actually calling me by the name of the love of his life, I'd be pissed. Okay. She swallowed, her watery eyes squinting up again at him. Salem, you're really here? A sob erupted from her throat. You came for me. Blah, 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 blah. I told you I'd always come. I'm sorry it wasn't sooner. She clung to him hard. Blah, blah, blah. Too soon, she was ripped from his arms. Magic slammed into his body, sending him flying back from her. What do you want from me? Salem croaked. Do you want me to beg? I'll beg. I'll come back to Nocturnia, Salem vowed. Blah, 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 blah. Don't move, Blackwell, his father's voice thundered through the room. Salem froze in place. A magic hold flooded through his entire being at the invocation of his true name. Still don't know what the hell that means, okay? Any last words for your beloved? The king is snarling, okay? Then she whispers, I love you to Salem. And then Salem says, I love you back. I'm sorry you ever met me, blah, blah, blah. Please don't ever forget me. Never. You promise, she pleads. I swear, Angel. Then the King of Devils reaches into her chest and tears out her heart. Okay. Salem's obviously pissed as all hell. Okay. Then he says to someone, dispose of her. Okay. Then she's disposed of. Salem will not rest until every inch of flesh from your bones and your forsaken heart. I rip your forsaken heart from your own chest, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now the king is like, you can't because I'm going to tether you somewhere else. And the king said, did you think taking her away was your only punishment? That was too easy. I've created a place where you will be able to experience. Sorry, what? Whatever. He's throwing him into Phantasma, which is a place that he created to punish him. Okay. Don't lose all hope so quickly, his father admonished. I left you a loophole. Okay? Salem astronomist Blackwell, I hereby sentence you to my newest creation, Phantasma, a place of nightmares that you will rule with no memory of the traitorous little bastard that you've become. And maybe you'll eventually learn how to deserve your title as Prince of the Devils. You will belong to Phantasma and myself evermore unless you find the heart and the key to set you free. Okay? Then he says, what if I do set myself free? And the king says, you'll receive a fair reward. What do you want? I want every single soul who knows my true name to forget it. We obviously still don't know what the true name really means, okay? Besides that it's Blackwell. The king laughed. That won't bring her back, but you have a deal. If you manage to release yourself from Phantasma, I vow to forget your true name. Now he's escorted into the Phantasma, okay? Where he will now be for the next 500 years or until someone finds the heart and the key. Then the King of Devils says to this young woman named Dahlia, did you take care of the mortal as I requested? Dahlia, a young demon with a gift for soul singing, steps out. She reaches into the pocket of her tailored trousers and pulls something out, a golden heart-shaped locket. All that's left of it is to choose who will receive the mortal soul and when it shall be released. The soul needs to be reborn as someone who will not balk at a place such as Phantasma, a paranormal mortal, perhaps, Dahlia suggests, and a spark of excitement went through the king. Precisely, the king confirmed. And then he gives the locket to Ophelia's great-great-great-grandmother who's locked somewhere in a dungeon. Let's give him 5 centuries. Make sure my magic has time to really make him forget. Make sure whoever you compel to wear the necklace will never take it off until it's passed to the next host, and so on and so on. And so from that moment on, the necklace is going to be passed down from generations to generations, and it contains Angel's soul. Okay? So now we have Ophelia in that necklace wearing Blackwell / Salem's former lover's soul. Okay? That making sense to everyone? Now, sorry, let me take a sip of my water. Back to Ophelia and now Salem. Okay? He says, you've played a good game, Angel. Now I can give you what you're owed. Since you made it to the last level, I'll cut your payment to me for a blood bargain. Now, it's literally completely unclear to me if Blackwell the Phantom knew what was going on. I guess he didn't. But somehow when he enters this level, it all comes flooding back to him. Okay? Doesn't make any type of sense to me personally. But she basically then wishes. Okay, so now he's saying that my father gave me a loophole. All I ever needed was a heart and the hidden key. The only problem is that every time a new game begins, the memories of my true self are wiped away completely. And the only time I'm returned to my full self is when a contestant reaches this level. Okay. So he now has all the memories of himself and also Blackwell the Phantom, who he also is. Okay? And so Ophelia says, you mean the first time I met you, you met the real me, this version of me. But then I obviously forgot all of that when you came into the manor. So now all of a sudden she's back to being in love with him, even though she was kind of duped. And even though he was kind of being shady, Ophelia looks down at her hands. I thought I could save you. Me too, Angel. So he's still calling her Angel, even though he remembers now that his old lover was named Angel. Okay? Something about the way he said those words, the way he called her Angel, unraveled something within her. Okay? So she has Angel's soul in her locket. So that begs the question, was he ever really in love with her? Or was he just in love with the locket piece? I don't know. Everyone who falls in love in Phantasma is cursed. Because falling in love is what got you into this place. She decides that she is going to give him her devil's grant and ask to use it to find a break in your tether. And so now they're back in love. And she's about to tell him that she loves him. And she's like, no, don't say that because you're going to be cursed. But she says it anyway. And then she gives him the locket because she's like, wait, I think you need this. And he's like, no, don't give me that. You're going to die. So then her heart stops beating, goes without saying. Because I guess I really don't understand if she was Angel or in that heart it was just like a little bit of Angel. But I guess she was fully reincarnated as Angel because her heart stops beating when she gives the heart necklace away. So that doesn't make any sense to me. And so he says, if you give this to me, you'll die. And she said, yes, I don't really care, but I love you. And then, I love you so much. You saved me in so many ways, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, don't do this. Okay. Makes sense. And then he says, no, he will not take you from me. Not again. Never again. So is this Angel? I don't know. Is Ophelia Angel, or is he just in love with the piece of her that was Angel? Which to me, like, that blows. Like, he's not in love with Ophelia then, unless she just fully is reincarnated as Angel. Then in that case, was her mom also Angel? I don't know. Okay. So he's like, just sell your soul to me and then I can get rid of the curse. And then she's like, no, my mom said never to sell my soul to a devil, which, like, yeah, but like, you're about to die. And then she's like, is there anything else that you can do? And then he's basically like, I can tether myself to you permanently. So like, you can live as long as you're stuck to me forever. And she's like, oh, okay, that sounds great. So now they're tethered together forever. Okay. And then he's still calling her Angel. So that doesn't make any sense to me personally. So yeah, basically they spend the rest of their lives together. I'm not sure who the hell she is, if she's Ophelia or Angel. And now, epilogue, she's now only calling him Salem. So I guess the memory of Blackwell is completely, because remember his wish for when the curse was broken was that no one remembers his true name. So now he's not Blackwell anymore. We have no idea what the true name really meant. So now she's just living her best life with Salem now. And we have no idea if she was ever like Ophelia or Angel. And I don't really get any of it. I still don't. Do you? Did that make any sense to you, Izzy?
No.
So that was the end of the book. It really made no sense to me. I kind of liked the twist of him being the Prince of Devils, but then everything that happened 500 years ago and her being Angel, and then everything that happened after that makes no sense to me. Period. That's it. I thought that was horrible and I hated it. And I think that it had so much potential. And I'm not kidding. I was like, did this book have an editor? Because obviously what I just told you makes no sense. I basically read it to you. Like, that's really, there's not much more sense to be made than that. It's that, and that was all in like 10 pages. So the fact that like there was just like this huge dump of plot in the last 10 pages of the book, that literally, like, that was the world building. Like, that is literally what led everyone to Phantasma. That's what Phantasma was, the creation of Phantasma. What led Blackwell here, Blackwell's whole story, 10 pages at the end of the book. Doesn't make any type of sense. Who's Angel? Is it Ophelia? I don't know. Why did she stop being able to live without the locket? She was literally fine without it before. So,
What about her sisters? What happened to that?
I don't know. What her sister's fine now, I guess. There's going to be a sequel that's about her sister. Also, what about the dad? Like, he was in Phantasma a few months ago. Is he alive? Like, what happened? Who the hell knows? If there was more, if the end like really was well thought out and we paid more attention to the trials and all that, I think this could have been a great book. But it really wasn't for me. And that was sad because I think it had a lot of potential. And then obviously I was like, who published this? Because now I know all of that stuff, and it's Forever Publishing, which is actually like a really great imprint. of, I think it's HarperCollins, I want to say. No, maybe Hatchet. I don't know how to say it. Hachette, whatever. Which is like a great publishing house. And also they publish all of Abby Jimenez's books. So it's like, I know you had a good editor. Like, what's happening here? I don't know. Anyway, I gave that 3 stars, which I want to kind of go into that rating system with you guys. Because just from like how good I think the book was, I think it was maybe 2 stars, but I bumped it up to 3 because I read it in one day, and I think that speaks for something, and I think it had a lot of potential. Okay? So I feel good about that being 3 stars, but then I also give things 3 stars that I think I liked even more than that. So let's start with 5 stars, okay? We're going to create this rating system together. 5 stars, I think, has to be something that kind of changes your life. So life-changing. And I haven't given anything 5 stars since Throne of Glass books, which I think that makes sense to me. I gave A Court of Mist and Fury 5 stars. Kingdom of Ash, I gave 5 stars. Heir of Fire, those are 5-star books to me. I gave Love in Other Words 4.5 stars, which I feel good about that because I loved that book. I really would consider it one of my favorite books, but it wasn't necessarily a life changer. You know, it was just really like, I'm kicking my feet and I love this. So I think I'm going to do like one of my favorite books, but not life changing. It's 4.5 stars. 4 stars. What did I give 4 stars recently? I gave 4 stars to The God of the Woods. That's a great one to give 4 stars to. Because I think that was just like a good book. I enjoyed reading it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was my favorite. It was one of my favorites, but it was just a good book. Okay? So let's call it 4 stars. Good book. Enjoyed reading it, but not necessarily one of my favorites. I think that makes sense. That brings us to 3.5, which I recently gave P.S. I Hate You 3.5 because didn't necessarily, I guess I did. Didn't necessarily like it or think it was a good book, but I think it had some merit and I definitely enjoyed reading it at parts. I think didn't necessarily like it overall. Okay, didn't necessarily like it overall or think it was a good book, but I think it had some merit and I definitely enjoyed reading it. I'm not even going to say at parts because I did like enjoy reading that. Okay, that sounds good to me. 3 stars, which is Phantasma. I'm going to say not a good book, but I didn't hate reading it. Or because I gave Ghosts 3 stars and I thought that was a decent book, but I hated reading it. So that's what or decent book, but I hated reading it. It didn't suck me in. Okay? Actually, I think I gave Ghost 2.5 stars. But let's do 2.5 stars is really struggled with this, but there were 1 or 2 parts that made it worth finishing. Okay? That is honestly what I think I gave Ghosts. But I think I should give that a 3 because I don't think Ghosts was a bad book. Okay, 2 stars. Hated it. Hated this. Period. On God. And then I think 1 or 1.5. I'm not even going to do 1.5. I think anything in the 1 range is like either didn't finish, which you guys know I can't really DNF. So I would say didn't finish, or finishing this book was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. That feels good to me. Let's go through this again. 5 stars is life-changing. I agree. 4.5 is one of my favorite books, but not life-changing. I agree. 4 is good book, enjoyed reading it, but not necessarily one of my favorites. I would honestly say just not one of my favorites because it just didn't have that spark. That when you know, you know. Right. Because I think the thing with the 4-star book is that there's not necessarily a reason that it's not a 4.5. It's just when you know, you know. You know, you have those books that you're like, this was good. I just didn't, like on a date, you just didn't have that 5-star spark. I think that's what 4-star is. 3.5 is didn't necessarily like it overall or think it was a good book, but I think it had some merit and I definitely enjoyed reading it. Yeah, I think we could edit this one to make it flow better, but you guys get the gist. 3 stars, and this is what I gave Phantasma. Not a good book, but I didn't hate reading it. That's true. Or decent book, but I hated reading it. Yeah, I agree. 2.5 is really struggled with this, but there were 1 or 2 parts that made it worth finishing. That's what I would give Ghost. 2 is hated this, and 1 is didn't finish this book, or it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Love, I'm going to polish that up and post that on the book account, and I'm really going to try to heed that. Because just looking at my read books, that's all over the place, the ratings, and I would literally change all of them. And I also, like, there are so many books that I had given 5 stars in the past. Like, I feel like I gave every Colleen Hoover book 5 stars when I was, like, 20. But I'm not going to go back and change that because that is how I felt at the time. But just moving forward, I'm going to be really, really strict about my ratings. And if this helps you, I hope this helps you. Okay, I am going to Florida by the time that you listen to this episode. And you guys know that I get my best reading done in that hot tub. So here's my TBR. Which usually when I make TBRs, I never stick to them. Sorry. But I always stick to them in Florida because I have to read physical copies in the hot tub. I don't want to read my Kindle in the hot tub. And so I just have to read what I brought unless we go to the Barnes & Noble, in which case my hands are tied. But I usually do try to stick to my TBR. And I'll only be there for 7 days, so I did only bring 4. And I don't even know if I'll finish these because one of them is Crescent City, which is, I want to say, in the 700 range. Oh my God. Sorry, excuse me. It's in the 800s. God, yeah. No, it's not. It's $797. So, excuse me, $799. Really? Just do 800. So I just started the 7-year slip last night, and I don't think I'm going to finish it by the time. I'll probably only be a few chapters in by the time I get to Florida. So I'm counting this as one of my full Florida books. This is interesting because it's a romance, but it's also got magical realism, but it's not like full on fantasy. Like it fully takes place in this world. I read 2 chapters last night. I do not like it so far. And I think that that's just because it's taking me a minute to get used to the writing style. I have been really struggling to read books after writing my own because I think it's just hard to get into another writing style that's not your own. And I think that this writing style is very fluffy, which is not a bad thing. It just has like a lot of descriptive imagery, which honestly is something that I could work on as an author, but I don't prefer it just because I really like to just get to the point. Because when I find myself reading, I find that I actually don't care like what your hair looks like or what the color of the chair is. And I know some people like that and some authors write that way, which is great. I don't, and I probably could use to do that a little bit more. But this book has very much a lot of that. And so kind of struggling with that, but I think that's something that you get used to, and I'm only 2 chapters in. So even though I'm not thrilled with the first few chapters, I am not writing this off at all. I'm really excited to keep reading it because so many people have given this 5 stars, and I'm desperate for a 5-star book. That's where we stand there. I also am really excited to read Everybody in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. This has been on my list for a really long time. And this is about a girl who can't stop thinking about death, very, very anxious, responds to a free flyer for therapy in a church. And whoever works at the church thinks she's there for a job interview. And so she starts working as the receptionist because the former receptionist just died. And she becomes really obsessed with the death of the former receptionist and just like full on existential crisis. And I'm really excited to read about this because, you know, we're doing anxiety representation and that just love that in general. And I think that could really help me writing my own book. So really excited for this one. Okay. Next one is How to End a Love Story, which actually came up in so many meetings that I had with publishers when we were talking about my book. And it was just like, not necessarily a comparison, but just like, oh, this book made me think of Phoebe. And all of the publishers that I spoke to really had nothing but incredible things to say about this book. So I'm really excited to read this one because I trust the literary experts. And it was also a Reese Book Club book. So that's exciting. Then we have Crescent City. Y'all, you know, I've just been like, I can't do it. I read the first 100 pages of this already. I'm going to restart from the beginning just to make sure that I really kind of remember them because I don't, because they were so plot dump, world building heavy. And I don't know why I'm dreading this so much. You would think I'm just like so excited to read it as the last Sarah J. Maas series, but I think it's just like the way that it's set in modern day and just like the tech of it all. And just like it's so fantasy heavy. I can't. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I think I will get to it last after I read all these three, and maybe I won't get to it at all. So that would be a shame, but it just might be a possibility. And I would feel horrible if that's the case, but I am going to bring it if I finish these three, which I do think I will, because I usually do a book a day or two in the hot tub. So that's that for Crescent City. Hopefully I do get to it, but if I don't, that's okay. Also, just before I go, I was getting a lot of questions about how to write a book. And if one of you wants to write a book, what's the best way to do that? I think that my experience is probably a little bit different just because I had my agents already, which I'm so lucky to have had. And again, checking my privilege at the door. But if you want to write, this is the worst advice, and you've probably heard it so many times. Just do it, because that's what I did. And it was, let me tell you guys, if you had to force me to go back and read my first few chapters, the first draft of them, it would be like torture, because they truly were awful. But you just have to keep going despite the fact that it is horrible, because you get better as you go. And then you can literally just go back and rewrite the first few chapters once you've gotten good, because that is fully what I did. The first few chapters of Phoebe, they're dead. Like, they don't exist anymore. I fully had rewritten them once I kind of learned how to write along the way. So that's what I would recommend. And then with fiction, my understanding is that the full book has to be done before you submit it, which, again, checking my privilege at the door, I submitted a partial. I submitted 120-ish pages. And then it was sold off of those pages. I don't think that that is common. I think that if you don't have agents or platform, you have to kind of write the whole thing first. And then that is when you submit it to either agents, if you want to submit it to larger publishing houses, or if you want to either independently publish or submit through a small publishing house, then I think you can just submit it directly to publishers. But I know that the larger publishing houses, like the ones in the Big Five, which are, by the way, as I've learned, Penguin, Random House. Penguin Random House is one, by the way. I thought they were two. Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins, Macmillan, and then Hatchet, which I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Is it? Izzy, do you know? It's like giving French, Hachettte, which makes me think maybe Hachette. But I think it's Hatchet. And in Hatchet, well, within each of those, they're called the Big Five. So within each of those, there are imprints. So you're never really selling your book to just like Penguin Random House or Simon & Schuster. You're selling it to an imprint within. So the imprint that I sold mine to is called Crown, but there's tons of other imprints within Penguin Random House and all of the other Big Five names, which I didn't know. So when you look at the side of your books, like this one, How to End a Love Story, is Avon, which I know is an imprint of HarperCollins. So that's how that works, which is fun. But yeah, just start writing if you'd want to write a book, and then you would get agents if you want to publish it more traditionally. But if you're looking for like a smaller publishing house or you want to self-publish, then you can just go right to the publishing industry. So I think that's it. And you guys, that is Obsessed for you. I can't thank you enough for coming with me on this journey. I have had the best time. There has been so many amazing things that have come from Obsessed. We got to meet Andrew Barth Feldman. That was a gift. We got to go through all the ACOTARs with Patrick. That was a gift. You got to meet all of my friends who I adore. That was such a gift. I love sharing them with the world, and they're also funnier than me, so that's great. And I just feel like we really got to connect. And don't you worry, I will still be sharing all of my obsessions on BNC. No questions asked. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'll also be sharing my obsessions. That's just Brooke Averick, and Brookeshelf LLC. That's going to be our book stuff. And us on Fable, which is linked in Brookeshelf LLC. So you guys, that's it. I love you so much. Thank you for everything. And I will see you because I literally am chronically online, and I will be in 85 other platforms. So this is not goodbye. This is just see you somewhere else. Okay. Love you. Thank you for everything.